All right, let's go ahead and get started making our tissue paper flowers, our marigolds. What you're going to need for this project are some sheets of tissue paper. You should have some in your kit, some orange ones that are already cut for you, and they should all be about the same size. So you should have some rectangles that are all the same size. To make these flowers, you need 7 or 8 or 9 sheets. So you should have that in your kit. You'll also need a piece of pipe cleaner and some scissors. Okay? And you can actually, if you want, you can cut the pipe cleaner in half with your scissors and have 2 pieces. That is totally up to you. Or you can leave it long and have more stem. You, of course, can make your flowers other colors if you would like. We are going to use orange for this right now because we're making marigolds and they're usually kind of an orange color. Maybe sometimes they have some yellow in them as well. So if you want to add different colors to your flowers or do a totally different color, that's fine. You just need to get 8 layers, around 8 layers that are all the same size rectangles there. Okay, and you can see here that my rectangle isn't a perfect rectangle. I've got kind of a little wonky corner there, but that's totally fine. Try to get as close to a rectangle as you can and try to get them as close to the same size as you can. But the cool thing about this project is that it doesn't have to be perfect because we're making flowers and flowers come from nature. That's not perfect. So in fact, these will end up looking more like real flowers if they're a little bit messy. So don't stress about it being perfect. So what you want to do first is get your tissue paper and get those stacks all stacked up and try to get all the edges kind of matched up like that. Okay? Then you are going to take one of your edges. If you have a rectangle, I would start with one of your long edges. And you're gonna just fold over just a little bit, okay, about the size of your thumb. Okay, it can be a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger, okay, but fold over about the size of your thumb and then give it a good crease. So smush it down to really fold it there, okay? Now you're gonna flip over. So here's the part I folded, it's facing me. You're gonna flip it over and do the same thing again. So about the same size, about the size of your thumb, fold it back and smush. Okay, when we flip it over, I got all my folded stuff facing me. You're gonna do that same thing again. Fold it back, about the size of your thumb. Smush. Flip over. You're going to do that the whole way to the edge of your rectangle. Okay. We call this sometimes fan folding or accordion folding because it's making sort of like an accordion like that. Okay. So you're going to do that the whole length of your rectangle. Try to keep those layers together. And then once you have that, I want you to pinch it in the middle. Okay. So it kind of looks like a bow tie. Can you see that there? I've kind of got like a tie going. Okay? So we've got it pinched in the middle. Next thing you're going to need is your pipe cleaner. You're going to do it just like that, where just a little bit is sticking up off the top. And we put it right in the middle of our bow tie. And then bend that pipe cleaner over to kind of pinch there, and you can give it a little twist. Twist our pipe cleaner together, and then it should be holding together. Okay? So you can see here, this is going to be sort of like the stem to my flower. Most of the time for our adding these onto our ofrenda, you won't see very much of this pipe cleaner, so it doesn't really matter what color you use. If you want to have a stem that you can see, then that's fine. So kind of think about, if you want to be able to see it, think about what color you want it to be. But usually you won't see it, so don't worry, because it's going to be in the very middle of our flower, so you won't really see this pink. It's also nice to have a little bit of pipe cleaner left in case you want to wrap it around like maybe a headband. So you could, like this one here, you can see I made a bunch of flowers and I wrapped my little extra stem around a headband so that I can wear this kind of flower crown. So if you wanted to make something like that, you could do that with your extra pipe cleaner. Okay, so once you're at this step, I'm going to show you an optional step, but you don't have to do this, but it does make your flowers look more real, okay? More like real marigolds. So when all of your layers are folded and nice and flat together, you can take a pair of scissors and you're just gonna snip off this corner right here, okay? You're actually gonna do both of them to kind of make sort of a kind of a pointy end. So just like that, you can see I snipped off right there. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this corner. So you can see there it kind of made my end sort of pointy, okay? You can round it off a little bit if you want, but pointy works really well. And then you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Snip and snip. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It is a little tough to get through all the layers. Tissue paper's thin, but when you've got this many layers at once, it does take a little bit of muscle to cut through there. So this might be a step that grown-ups could help with if you need it. You notice here when I cut off my corners, it made a lot of little pieces. So just beware, you'll probably make a little bit of a mess. That's okay, it kind of makes it fun. You end up with all of this confetti type stuff, or like they almost look kind of like petals. And in fact, when I'm making flowers, I really like to save these and add them to, and I like to glue them into the bottom of my ofrenda just to have some petals, some extra orange color petals in there. So if you want to save those, you can keep a pile for later. Okay, the next step is very, very important. We're gonna turn this bow tie into a big fluffy flower. So what you need to do, and this is a step that takes a lot of patience, okay? So what you need to do is kind of fan out one side, just like that. And we are gonna try to grab just one layer here. So take your time and make sure that you only have one. And the rest of the layers, you're gonna pinch with your other hand. You're gonna hold them down while you gently and slowly, okay, very important words for this step, gently and slowly, kind of wiggle that one layer up towards the middle, okay? Again, we have to be very gentle and move kind of slowly for this step. A lot of kids like to rush this step, and then your flower doesn't end up looking as much like a flower. Or sometimes your petals can rip if you pull it too hard and too fast, okay? Tissue paper is very thin and very delicate. It's a really fun material to work with, but it does take a little bit of patience, okay? So you can see here now I have gently wiggled and pulled my first layer up. So you can see that it's sticking straight up from the rest of my flower, okay? And again, don't worry if it gets a little crinkled. Marigolds are really crinkly, so this is a great flower to make. After you get one layer, you're gonna repeat with the next one. Make sure you get one layer. You're gonna be sure to hold the other ones tight and then give this a gentle wiggle so that we can fluff it up towards the middle. just like that. And if once you get it up towards the top, if you want to kind of give it a little bit of a crinkle, sometimes that makes it look really cool. Okay? You're going to continue doing that for all of your layers, being very gentle, very patient, giving it a little wiggle, being sure to hold down the other ones while you lift one layer at a time. You're going to do all 8 layers on this side and then repeat it on the other side. Make sure that you take your time and really try hard to separate out your layers and only get one layer at a time. Sometimes they like to stick together. Okay, so if you want, you can pause the video now and work on gently wiggling up all the layers of your flower up towards the middle. See how it's starting to look like a flower? We're gonna do all of these, and then once those are done, we'll spread these out and do the same thing on this side. Okay, so go ahead and pause and take some time fluffing up your flower. So you can see here I've done all the layers on one side and I'm ready to move on to my other side. So I'm going to flip it over, fan this out, and repeat one layer at a time. Okay, you can see here I have fluffed up all of my layers on both sides. I'm gonna kind of squish a few of them to get us a few extra crinkles in there. And then another tip is sometimes I like to hold the stem and then grab the whole flower gently from underneath and kind of give it a little squeeze to kind of squish all the petals together. Sometimes that makes it get more of that round shape we're looking for. You can hold it like that and squish some of the petals. Okay, just play with it a little bit. And remember that it's just tissue paper, so if it doesn't turn out exactly like you were hoping, which sometimes that happens, this is a project that takes a little bit of practice, and mostly practicing our patience and being slow and gentle. So if it doesn't turn out exactly like you planned, that's all right. They're just tissue paper and they're just flowers. And even if they aren't perfect, they still look a whole lot like real marigolds. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this project. Now that you have a completed flower, you can glue that into your ofrenda. Grown-ups, if you have glue guns at home, those hold these in really, really well. You can also wrap your pipe cleaner around something in your box to help it stay in. You could poke the stem through some paper. There's all sorts of ways that you could add this to your ofrenda. It might take a little bit of problem solving and creative thinking to come up with exactly how you want it to stick in there. It could lay across the bottom. You could make a whole bunch to make a border that goes all the way around. Totally up to you. If you want to make some more, remember you just need about 8 layers of the same size rectangle. So you can use some of the other colors you have in your kit, or you could find some other tissue paper to cut and make a few more.